Hello, and welcome to another reading vlog. So, essentially, I keep seeing some of these books recommended over and over and over, and I don't think I'm gonna like them, but because they're recommended so much, I want to read them. And these books all fall under the cozy category. So, as a quick refresh of the books I'm going to be reading, I have the Emily Wilde Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. Took me a second, I really stumbled over that. The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, and last but certainly not least, Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This is the only one I think I might like. But all of these books, I don't know why I'm holding them upside down, but I am. Let me try to better that. All of these books are cozy fantasy books. And while I love fantasy, I have not liked cozy books. There's something about it, like, I love really dark, intense books, and cozy books are the opposite of that. They're very low stakes, they're very nice, they're not very dark, and I don't know, I'm just not into them. So I figured, why not do a little reading vlog where I read these 4 books and, like, really put it to the test. Like, maybe I can like a cozy book, we'll see. So, I think the first book I'm going to start with, just because this is the one I've been seeing everywhere, and, like, I've been seeing people heap praise on this book, is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. What I know about this book is that, books are falling. What I know about this book is that it follows Emily Wilde, who's this, like, scholar who studies fairies, and she's writing an encyclopedia about them. That's all I know. But I've heard such great things that I am excited to pick it up, even though I don't think I'm going to like it. So, I'm going to start reading, and I will check in with you once I have something to say. See ya! Hello. I'm 88 pages into the book, so I can give you a little synopsis now, which I couldn't do before because I could only tell you what the title told me. So essentially, like I said before, this book is following Emily Wilde. She's a professor at Cambridge, and she specifically studies fairies. At the beginning of this book, she travels to a country in Scandinavia in order to research the fairies there, because it's actually the last type of fairy that she needs to research before she can publish her encyclopedia of fairies, hence the title. However, she's having a rough time. She gets there and she offends, like, the village headwoman. She's not really sure how she does it. She's just kind of awkward. So she's having a rough time with the people in the village. And then shortly after she arrives, one of her colleagues at Cambridge shows up, and his name is Wendell, and he says that he's going to help her with her research. And she's very suspicious of Wendell. She thinks that he's going to try to, like, co-opt her research and put his name on it. But she also thinks that he might be a fairy. So that's kind of the gist of this book so far. I'm actually surprisingly enjoying it. Who would have thought? Not me. Like, I saw this book on so many favorites lists at the end of last year, and every time it just didn't sound very appealing to me. Like, it sounds cute and, like, cutesy and cozy, but never really sounded like something I really wanted to pick up. But I'm surprisingly getting really into it. Like, I like the writing style. It's written in the form of, like, her diary entries, but she also has, like, footnotes in her diary entries to explain some fairy stuff. So it's just a fun read. And she writes kind of, like, formally, like, I don't know how to describe it, but her writing has a specific style that's very interesting. So I am enjoying this so far, shockingly. Who would have thought? Not me. And I will continue to update you as soon as I have other thoughts. But that's all I have to say for right now. See ya. Hello, everybody. It's the next day, and I've officially finished Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Oh, and Saphira's making a visit. She doesn't want to. Ooh, now she's starting me. She hates when I do that. But you'll see her little tail popping up, I'm sure. Anyway, I've officially finished Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and I'm shocked to say that I really enjoyed this. I'm giving it 4 stars. And I really want to emphasize, I thought I was going to hate this. Like, I think its saving grace is that it's kind of only cozy fantasy in the beginning. Like, halfway through, when, like, the action really starts picking up in this book, I really wouldn't call it a cozy fantasy. I just call it a regular fantasy. Like, there's actual stakes involved, and there are, like, some dark elements. So I think personally that's why I enjoyed it so much, because, like, the first half I wasn't as into as I was the latter half. I also typically am not a big romance girly, but I did really like the relationship in this book. I found it to be very sweet. I'm not gonna say the characters are, like, new favorite characters or anything, but, like, it was a nice little relationship. I will say I'm actually very excited to read the sequel and see where it goes from here. I might have to wait until I can get it in paperback, but I will be purchasing it at some point. So that's it for this one. Now we're going to go into the book. I think of all the books in this video, this is the one I'm going to like the least. At least that's my prediction. And that is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I have nothing against people who like this book, but I think this is like the epitome of like a cozy fantasy. I don't really understand what happens to it, but I know that there's like, it follows this person who is like in battles all the time and they're retiring from that and they're opening up like a coffee shop. Like, nothing about that appeals to me. And I like, if it appeals to you, that's great. It just does not to me. So I thought this would be a good one to pick up now, to kind of get it out of the way, and also because it's probably like the second most popular book in this video after Emily Wilde. So I'm gonna give this a shot, and I will check in with you when I'm like halfway through to give you a synopsis, a real synopsis, because I really don't know what this is about at all. Okay, see ya. Oh, I forgot the book. I am back. And I'm out of breath. You know when like you have a secret YouTube channel and you don't want your roommates to find out about it, so you never film downstairs, but they're away for one weekend, and so you tell yourself you can film downstairs and you're really out of breath. And you do it, but you're scared the whole time? Because that's how I'm feeling right now. Not that like I'm embarrassed of my YouTube channel, but I like don't really speak to my roommates at all, so it would be weird if they came home to me filming in our living room. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I keep forgetting his name. Guys, I am 106 pages into this book, and I'm hating it. Like, I'm really hating it. It is so boring. I don't know why people like this. I mean, okay, I take it that back. I can understand why people will like it, but it's just everything that I don't like, to be honest. So essentially, we're following this orc named Viv, who used to be, what's the word? Like, I can't think of the word. It starts with an M, I think. She used to be like someone for hire that would like go and kill people and like a rough person. I don't know. You get what I'm saying. The word Mason keeps coming to my head, but that's not what it is. She used to be like armed for hire, basically. But at the beginning of this book, she decides to give all that up and start a coffee shop. So she goes to this city and no one knows where coffee is, and she's creating her coffee shop. And that's the whole book. Like, she finds a location, and then she buys the location, and then she finds someone to help repair the location, and they help her repair the location, and then she finds someone to help her run the coffee shop, and then they help her run the coffee shop, and then she finds someone who can bake pastries for the coffee shop, and then they bake pastries for the coffee shop, and that's all that's happening. Like, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, because I understand why people like cozy things, but I just want a sweet little thing. Like, I'm sure it's the same reason I watch Gilmore Girls and the same reason I play Animal Crossing, but I just do not like it in book form. I'm only 100 pages in, and it's been like 24 hours since the last clip, because I just don't want to sit down and read it. I'm not having fun when I'm reading it. And this is exactly how I thought I was going to feel about all of these books. So Emily Wilde was like definitely an outliner so far. What? I can't remember any words. Outliner? Is that even the word? I don't know. Take it easy on me. I'm sweaty because I just ran up the stairs. Anyway, I'm just hating this. I don't really understand why anyone would want to read this, even though like I do kind of understand. I just want this to be over so I can get rid of it. Like, I'm already thinking about unhauling this book and like how much happier I will be, which is a bit dramatic, but I'm a dramatic person, so what do you expect? And that is all. I'm going to go take a bath, because I think that's the only way I can make myself read this, if I'm in a space where I can't do anything else. Yeah. Feel bad for me, please. See you soon. Hello, Saphira's trying to, hi! She's trying to play with the microphone cord, which she should not be doing. Do you understand? She doesn't speak English, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm here because I finally finished Legends and Lattes, and shocking news, based off of my last update, I did not like this. I gave it 1 star. Everything that I said before holds true still, but another thing I want to say in addition to all that is that there are like very small, stop playing with the microphone cord, you're gonna eat it and I'm gonna die. In addition to, I don't know what I was saying now. Sophia distracted me. So essentially there are small moments of conflict in this book, like specifically the larger conflict underlaying most of the book is that there's like this local gang in the city where she's at the coffee shop and they want her to pay dues. But even that just amounts to nothing. Like, it's just too lighthearted. It's too heartwarming. Like, the quote on the cover from Charlotte Maguire says it's sweet, beautiful, and most of all kind. And it is. It's all of those things. If that sounds appealing to you, then definitely read this. But it's just, it doesn't work for me. I want something grim. I want something dark and sad. I don't want everyone to be happy all the time. Which is probably something I need to, like, look into and, like, deal with mentally. That's where I'm at. I don't enjoy stuff like this at all. So again, I gave this 1 star. I will be unhauling this in my next unhaul video probably. So the next book I'm going to pick up for this video is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This book I know nothing about, like, at all. I've heard people talk, like, praise this book, but I've never heard them actually say what it's about. So I'm going into this completely blind. I don't have any idea what it's about. I am a little wary going into it. There's the initial, like, being wary of all cozy books, obviously, but specifically, I've read a T.J. Klune book before, and I think it was called In the Lives of Puppets. I read that for my reading, like, the Goodreads Choice Award winners book. No, not book. Video. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it because it was cozy, and it was a cozy sci-fi, and again, it was too lighthearted, it was too nice and heartwarming for me and my dead soul. So I'm a little bit scared to go into this one, but I know it's very popular, so maybe it's gonna be more interesting, because the reviews for In the Lives of Puppets weren't great to begin with, to be honest. Even though it won the Goodreads Choice Award, everyone I saw that reviewed it, like, on YouTube or something, didn't really enjoy it. Whereas I've heard people really praise this one. So maybe I'll be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because I like to read books that I like. Which, the whole concept behind this video is not doing that. So I've kind of got myself into a little bit of trouble here. But we can just ignore that, because sometimes being a hater is fun too. So I'm going to sit down, I'm going to start this. Once I understand what it's about, I'll let you know. See ya. Do you want to say goodbye, Saphira? Do you want to say goodbye? Say goodbye. She does not want to say goodbye. I'm sorry. She doesn't like this. I promise you, my cat is happy and I love her and she loves me. I just like to torment her sometimes. And not even torment her, I just pick her up. She loves me. Okay, goodbye. See ya. Hello, I'm back. And actually I didn't look at the page number. Let me look at the page number. I am about 200 pages into The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, so I thought I'd give you some of my thoughts and also a brief synopsis. So essentially, this book takes place in a world where there's, like, magical people. It takes many different forms. There's, like, sprites, there's banshees, there's phoenixes, there's wyverns, like, there's a lot of different kinds of magical people. But magical people are kind of, like, endangered because normal people don't really like them and they, like, kill them and stuff. So the government created these orphanages for magical youth, and our main character, Linus, works for this department. And he actually works as, like, a caseworker, so his job is to go to these orphanages and write, like, reviews of how they are and how they're taking care of the children. And based off of these reviews, some orphanages get shut down and some get to stay in existence. So the book starts off with Linus being summoned to extremely upper management, which is, like, the entity in charge of this department. And he's given this, like, super classified case to work on. And he's given, like, an entire month to go to this orphanages and see how it's doing. So he goes to this island that the orphanage is on, and he soon finds out that these children are very, very unusual and kind of scary. For instance, one of the children there is the Antichrist, which really freaks him out. And in general, he's just, like, very overwhelmed by this orphanage. And that's pretty much the plot so far. Where I'm at right now, he's just kind of, like, he's been there for about a week or so. He's just kind of getting used to how things are, and he's starting to, like, feel for the children. And he's being a bit more actively involved than he usually is in his cases. So I'm not gonna say that this book is bad, but I'm also not really gonna say that it's good. To be honest, like, I'm just not really feeling it. It's just okay right now, which for me would be about a 2-star rating. But obviously I'm not finished with it yet. I can still pick up from this point. I will say, though, that, like, I think it's a me issue again. Like, I'm not into lighthearted books. Especially recently, I've been kind of sad. So, reading something like this just isn't working for me. Like, I want something sad and dark to read. I don't want to read, like, this happy-go-lucky little book. And that's just entirely a me thing. So, there's nothing, like, wrong with this book so far. It's just I keep picking it up and I can't really get myself, like, you know when you pick up a book and you just can't stop reading it and then all of a sudden like an hour has gone by? That is not the case for this book. For this book, it's like I feel like I'm reading a lot and then I look at the clock and it's only been 5 minutes and then I don't want to pick it back up. So the past 2 days I actually haven't read this at all just because I was not in the mood for it, but I'm trying to power through now. I'm about like halfway. I don't think you can see from that far away, but I tried to show you. And this is like, I think this is the thickest book in this video. So once I'm done with this one, I only have one more left, which is exciting because I would like to get this video uploaded at some point. Hopefully in September. Watch, it'll be out in November or something because I've got big plans for October. But anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts. And I'm going to keep reading and I'm going to try to finish this within the next day or two. See ya. Hello, I am back. I like how I finished my last update by saying that it would take me like a day or two to finish it, and then I finished it a couple hours later. I was able to power through it ultimately. And I have a lot to say about this one, to be honest. So let's just get into it. Essentially, I was originally, after I finished this, I was going to rate it 2 stars, just based off of my own personal enjoyment, which is typically how I review books. But then I started reading some of the Goodreads reviews, and I found out a bit more about the inspiration behind this book, and it just completely changed my perspective. Let me read you what TJ Klune has said about the inspiration behind this book. Give me 1 second. So essentially, he says that the book was inspired by Canada's 60s Scoop, which personally I don't know much about, but this is his quote. It remained fuzzy until I stumbled across a 60s Scoop, something I'd never heard of before, something I had never been taught in school. I'm American, by the way. In Canada, beginning in the 1950s and continuing through the 1980s, Indigenous children were taken from their homes and families and placed into government-sanctioned facilities, such as residential schools. The goal was for primarily white, middle-class families across Canada, the US, and even Europe to adopt these children. It's estimated that over 20,000 Indigenous children were taken, and it wasn't until 2017 that the families of those affected reached a financial settlement within the Canadian government, totaling over $800 million. So that's the first thing that he says. And then apparently, later on a podcast, he says, I didn't want to co-opt, a history that wasn't mine. I'm a cis white dude, so I can't ever really go through something like what those children had to go through. So I sat down and I was like, I'm just going to write this as a fantasy. Now, maybe that doesn't sound like too bad for you. I think it really depends on what you know about Indian boarding schools. I studied Indian boarding schools in a couple of my classes in law school. And I can't even begin to summarize how horrific they were. Like, not only was sexual assault, rampant at these facilities, not only were these children torn apart from their families and they had no choice in the matter, not only were these children completely cut off from their culture, they were hurt if they spoke their native language, their hair, which is an important, cultural thing for them, was cut off. They were forced to look and act like white children. Not only the fact that mass graves have been found at Indian boarding schools, where Indigenous communities for decades have been telling us that children went there and never came back, and governments were just like, no, that's not true, until they found mass fucking graves of these children. But also, these boarding schools were essential to the genocide of Indigenous people. I wrote a whole paper on this, and I'm not going to go into everything, but I just can't really comprehend how disrespectful this was, that it was his inspiration. And even in his little summary of I got this from the 60s Scoop, he kind of sugarcoats over what these schools really were. He acts like it was all figured out just after a settlement, and doesn't go into the generational trauma that this has caused, or how even to these days these people face discrimination because of policies like that. or how they lost their families because of things like this. And the fact that he says, like, I'm a cis white dude, like, I can't write that, so I'll just turn it into fantasy. And then this book is a very lighthearted, sweet book where the overall theme is like, oh, someone from the establishment that's perpetrating these awful things can in fact change everything if his heart is just opened up. It's not a very good message, and this just really, really bothered me. And so I'm, after all, going to give this 1 star. And honestly, it's not like I was going to give this 5 stars to begin with. Like, 2 stars was where I was at, so it's not a big, like, distance from there. But I just can't get over how insane that is. One of the reviews that I was, like, quoting from talked about how, like, white authors use Black, Indigenous, like, people of color's trauma to write in their little novels. And I think that's, like, a very valid point here. And I can't, I'm gonna stop talking about it now. But I'm just made very uncomfortable by this. It completely shifted my perspective of the book. And now I really don't like this book. It just skews me out. So on that note, let's just get over that and talk about the next thing I'm going to be reading. The last book I'm going to be reading for this vlog is Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I know nothing about this book. I've seen the movie like a couple years ago. I don't remember too much of it, so I can't even give you like a synopsis of that plot. I think from the very beginning of this video, it was my thought that this would be the book I liked the most, just because I do like the movie. But I'm also worried that I might not like it because it's like, I think it's like a middle grade novel, or like YA at least. So that might affect my enjoyment of it. But I'm hoping to end this video with a bang and have a new favorite book. So hopefully that is what happens. And hopefully this is much better than In the House on the Cerulean Sea. So I'm gonna get to reading this and I will update you later. See ya.
It's me again. I am about 100 pages into Howl's Moving Castle. And I have like 330 pages to go. This is a really long book and I didn't realize that. Although I can't really show you because I'm so far away, but I will give it a little shot. Can you see this? No, you really can't. What I was trying to show you is that there's like a lot of space between each line. So there's really not many words on a page, so it's been pretty easy to get through. But I'm not here to give you a review yet. Let's talk about a little bit of the synopsis. So essentially this novel follows Sophie, who at the beginning of the novel, her father dies, and her stepmother doesn't have enough money to keep paying for her and her sisters to go to school. So she sends her 2 sisters off to be apprentices somewhere else, and Sophie has to stay at the hat shop that they like make their living off of. However, one day while she's working at the hat shop, an old lady comes in and demands to see like a bunch of hats, but she doesn't like any of the ones that Sophie shows her. And then Sophie kind of like talks back to her, and this lady ends up being the Witch of the Waste or something like that. I don't remember what her title is. And she essentially curses Sophie to look like an old woman and tells Sophie that she can't tell anyone about her curse. So Sophie, newly transformed as an old lady, decides to just fucking leave. And she's like, fuck this. Because she's realized by this point in time that she's being exploited by her stepmother. So she walks out into the waste, and while she's there, she finds Howl's Moving Castle. Howl is a local wizard who is known to like prey upon young girls. And she's old and she's tired and it's getting cold and dark outside, so she just climbs up into his castle. And now she's staying there and is like working as his maid. Even though it's not really sure if he wants her there, but she's trying to stay there as long as she can because it's like a nice place to stay. Well, maybe not a nice place because it's very, very dirty, but it's at least a place that's warm and a place that she can stay. So my thoughts so far, it's complicated. Like, I'm not hating it, but so far it's just so close to the movie. And it's like middle grade, so it's written really simply, and I'm not loving it. I don't like hate it, but I don't necessarily like it either. It's just okay. It's kind of how I was feeling about the other book until I realized it's like gross inspiration. I'm like kind of dreading through getting through the rest of this since it's like 330 more pages. I want to get this video out by next week. So I'm hoping to finish this within like today or tomorrow. I'm gonna do my best. I'm going to DC on Sunday, so I probably won't be able to read anymore then. And my goal is to get this finished before then so that I don't have to bring my camera on the trip to DC. Because I don't know that I'm going to do that regardless. So yeah, that's where I'm at with this book. And I will update you more once I'm finished with it, which, please God, please let that be decently soon. Because I'm a little tired of these cozy books. I gotta be honest, it's just not my thing. It's just so lighthearted. And I've already watched this movie, so I already know how this one goes. So there's not gonna be any like twists or turns unless there's something significantly different in the plot of the book. So, anyway, catch up with you later. Goodbye. Don't mind my cat t-shirt that I've had since I was 14. I was gonna film this downstairs so that there's a bit more variety and you're not just seeing different angles of my bed. But last night I saw a mouse downstairs and now I don't go down there unless I absolutely have to because I'm terrified of mice. So I'm basically just stuck in my bedroom for the next couple of weeks until I move. So please pray for me. Anyway, more on the topic. I finished Howl's Moving Castle, which it's very dark so you can't really see it, but now maybe? It's still kind of dark, but whatever. And I gotta be honest, I just don't have too much to say about this one. I ended up giving it 2 stars. That kind of gives you the general gist of what I think. I didn't love it. I didn't really like it. I didn't hate it. I don't think it was bad. I just thought it was okay at the end of the day. I will say, first of all, it's very, very, very different from the movie. Like, completely different story for the most part. So if you've seen the movie and you're still interested in this book, you still might like it. I think the pitfall for me is just, again, like, it's very lighthearted, and I'm not a lighthearted, cozy book girl. I tried in this video, I really thought I was gonna like this one, especially, I wanted to like all of these books, but I just don't think it works for me. Especially this one being middle grade, like, I find that now books that are written for middle grade students or YA books, they just don't hold my attention. The writing is just kind of boring to me. So it just really was not for me in the first place. So maybe I shouldn't have picked it up, but I wanted to step out of my comfort zone for once. So all I really have to say is that it wasn't bad. And if you like cozy books and if you like the movie, you should read this. Like, I don't think it's a bad book. It just wasn't for me. I think if I was like a parent and I have a kid, I would have my kid read this because I think they'd love it. I think it's like a sweet, whimsical book. It's just, I didn't personally enjoy it. So that's that. So, if I had to rank these books, I think the ranking would be very obvious. Emily Wow would be number 1. And then we would have Howl's Moving Castle. Legend Lattes at all the way at the bottom would be The House in the Cerulean Sea, for reasons previously stated. Thank you so much for watching this video. Tell me that I was like an awful person for not liking these cozy books down below. Or give me any other thoughts you may have. And I'll see you soon in another video. Goodbye!